The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Good evening, listeners. This is Barry Chamish, about 40 miles north of Orlando, and I've been following events. Boy, are we being manipulated. I'll go into that hour two. I was supposed to have Eric Phelps on. He is a lying moron and didn't show up. But I have someone who's honest and I like. So hour two, I guess I'll wing it. Hour one, Daisy Stern, how are you?
Hi, Barry. How you doing? I thought Eric was going to show up tonight.
Listen, I'm not going to chase him.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. There's a certain etiquette in doing a radio show, and one is to show up. All right?
I would think.
You would, wouldn't you? Look, let's get to you first, because Orlando and Hebron are really the same incidents. But
Greetings from Israel.
I'm not sure it worked. It turned out that way. Okay? Now, look. You're talking about the Florida attack over Shavuot. By the way, I have a listener who claims Shavuot was a holiday where the Jews are going to gather on Mount Zion to meet Jesus.
What?
I know. It's terrible.
What is... I don't know. Sounds like somebody's head is screwed up the wrong way.
I wish people would just... Look, you're right. And it irritated me to no end. I'm trying to keep everything balanced here. That Shavuot is, well, it's the revitalization of the Torah and our thanks to it, and we eat cheesecake. Now, what he said... There's
a lot more to it than that, but that's okay. It's a little summary.
Look,
everybody has their beliefs, and some people, have an alphabet soup in their head, or I don't know how to put it. I mean, it's part of this interfaith kind of concept, isn't it?
It's unique.
Yeah.
They're trying, for some reason, to reestablish Judaism to their liking, and that's no way to go about it.
I'm sorry to disappoint them, but Judaism is not going to bend to their liking. We have not bent to anybody's liking for millennia. We're not about to start.
Well, especially when you're making up stuff. This guy's got an actual ministry, and he's preaching this stuff, and it's hurtful and insulting and whatever. But I have a lot of strange listeners and readers and whatever else. Leave it be. I'm going to talk Florida. First of all, something very similar happened in Israel, and I predicted it. This was the giant gay parade in Tel Aviv, and it was followed by a massacre. And I wrote my readers, and I said, this is a setup. All right, let's go. You start with the Tel Aviv gay parade. Were you there?
Well, I wasn't there, actually, but what happened is, I would never go to an event like that. I loathe those events. I run away from them. I think they are such a disgrace. There is such an impurity on the land of Israel. They should never belong there. This is not the reason that God gave us the land. He didn't give us the land so we can go and profane it. This is absolutely not, what God wants. And it's really creating terrible damage to Israel that they're doing these things. And I mean, actually, it's creating a lot of damage to America, too. And I know this is not the How? I mean, all you have to do is go back. I mean, I don't know if you have studied the Bible in your young days or not. I know it's not exactly your forte these days. You have other focuses in your interest, but I just want to foci. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, foci. But
All
I want
right.
to remind you about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and I want
Oh,
to
all
remind
these.
you.
I've been getting this from the Christians like
But it's
crazy.
the truth. You might not want to hear it, but the fact is that God destroyed Sodom because of the way Sodom was living. And when you live like Sodom, God gets angry. And it's bringing disasters and it's bringing calamities onto a country and onto, wherever it is. And sooner or later, it's going to happen. So, you can choose to do it your way, or you can choose to believe that it's not a
Sodom,
good
there's nothing
way.
in the Bible that they were homosexuals. There's
You're
not.
absolutely wrong about that.
Oh yeah,
There is, yes, there is,
yeah. What
absolutely.
what word
That's
said?
not the only, well, basically that's the men, they wanted to have relations. The men wanted relations with men. I mean, they had other sins too, but it was one of their big sins. When they tried to attack the angel, and Lot took them into their home to protect the angels, and that's when God decided he was going to destroy Sodom. And the thing is, I mean, the understanding is once you, first of all, it's called an abomination. Like homosexual relationships in the Torah are an abomination. But in addition to that, it's not just homosexual relationships, it's just homosexual marriages. And in America, in many states, homosexual marriages have been legalized. And this is the absolute no-no. This is like the step that is, you can't go beyond that. And once you reach that point, you draw God's wrath. I mean, who is foolish enough to try to draw God's wrath on themselves? Who
I'm
is? I
not
mean, you
sure
can
they.
deny it all you want.
I'm
You
not
can
sure.
deny this all you want, but it's going to happen.
Well, I'm not sure they view it that way exactly, but
No, they don't view it
nonetheless,
that way. That's true. But the fact that they don't see it doesn't mean it's not true.
what you've got in Florida, by the way, um, it was not just one attack; it was a double attack.
I heard, yes.
All right, you got the singer. Now, look, that was headline number one on Friday. A
Yes.
singer shot on stage. Now, remember, is it a coincidence that Christina Grimmie was shot on stage in Orlando, dead, and the next night it's the Pulse attack? My
Well,
way
from
of
what I
thinking.
read, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go
From
ahead.
what I read, I mean, that attack on Friday was also supposed to be a much wider attack, but it got,
No, it
it,
wasn't. No, it wasn't. He went straight for her. The gun was in his hand. If he wanted a wider attack, there would have been one. He
hmm
tried to kill her. He succeeded in killing her, and he
hmm
got the world's media watching her die. That was the night before. Now,
hmm
why he was there? No, but look, they tried saying it was a family fight. That didn't work. He's not family. He didn't know the singer personally. He just went and
hmm
shot her. Now,
hmm
look, you want to get the eyes on Orlando. That's a good way to start, all right? But
Yeah, I wonder why Orlando is getting the brunt of it all of a sudden. What's with Orlando?
yep,
I mean, that's where you have Disney World, but I mean, that's not pretty innocent, is Disney World. I don't know. What's with Orlando? You tell me.
I'm not sure what, but it worked. Look, I'm
hmm
watching the news now, not for any personal. In Israel, I watched Hebron for personal reasons. I
hmm
saw my nation was unbelievably manipulated. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hebron was unbelievable. The whole Baruch Goldstein massacre. uh,
Yes, you're right.
It was all set up. It was all set up, and I proved it with my good friend Joel Boehnerman. We did a terrific article on the manipulation. Why, oh, why are they trying to get us out of Hebron, and how? Well, let's get a Jew shooting up the mosque with a bunch of Arabs. Except he didn't do it. And
Right.
look, later on, when I have to go by myself, I'll go through that. The fact is, it didn't work. somehow the Jews stuck around. But that didn't last long.
Well, apparently, from what I have read, and again, I wouldn't vouch for it, and I don't want to give my sources because those sources are not necessarily reliable. But first of all, we have to remember, and that is absolutely a known fact, is ISIS is a CIA creation. It's an American,
It's an
British,
Israeli creation with the CIA.
Well, I think Israel is not the number one in this whole thing.
It is number one, tied with America.
Well, the fact is that when you say ISIS, you don't necessarily mean only Muslims. You also mean CIA, you mean setup, you mean false flag.
Yep.
I mean, plus the guy apparently that did this attack was a CIA operative, from what I understand.
Oh, have I got information?
And not only that, but I mean, there is information that there were more than one shooter. There
was one shooder.
Apparently, there was a witness who talked about somebody in that hall that was closing the door. They wouldn't let people go out. And as he was being interviewed on TV, he was interrupted because they didn't want this. Apparently, there's a blackout on the fact that there was more than one shooter.
I would be delighted if you were right, but what I've been seeing, look, how to get in there. In a normal nightclub, you have security. You know, you've got someone who's watching security. That broke down, that's for sure. All right, at a minimum, that broke down. But more to the point, he phoned the cops before he killed half the people. He'd already killed, let's say, 10, got on the phone and then praised ISIS. It was a very, very strange, again, manipulation of our minds.
Well, yeah, I mean, apparently the whole setup is basically for gun control, it's for more martial law, it's for basically to control the population, and they create these situations.
That's what you think the political agenda is?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. You have all these radical Islam training terrorist camps spread out throughout the United States. And if you go to my website, you will see in January I wrote long articles about this with maps and all kinds of details about that, about Islamberg and Islamville, and among others. I don't know if you ever heard of Fethullah Gulen. Fethullah Gulen is a Turkish billionaire who is on a terror list by Erdogan in Turkey. But he was welcomed by the CIA. He's a Vatican favorite, believe it or not. He has very strong ties to the Vatican. And he's a billionaire, and he is the one that started all these charter schools in America. Just tonight, on your radio show, they were mentioning the charter schools and how all these pupils are leaving public schools to go to the charter schools. Well, guess who's behind those charter schools? Fethullah Gulen. Fethullah Gulen is Vatican, all right? Yeah, Vatican and CIA. No, but wait.
We're not talking charter schools.
But he is setting up, on one hand, he's doing charter school. On the other hand, he has major terrorist networks. One of them is one of the places I think is in Virginia or something, or Tennessee, I forgot it is called Islamville. And then you have Islamberg, upstate New York. I remember when I was going to the Catskills and I kept seeing those Muslims stocking up at ShopRite, buying tons of food to take with them to their camps. I remember when we were in touch with the FBI and told them, we got to watch these guys because they used to show up, we used to see them, and that was years ago. And they have these training camps all over the United States. They are ready. They're ready to attack. They have been brought in the middle of the night with flights, UPS flights. They were deposited somewhere in near I forgot the name of that place. It's an airport in Pennsylvania, 2 hours from New York. I forgot Sloatsburg. I forgot exactly the name of that particular airport. But anyway, they were found to have UPS airplanes that landed in the middle of the night and brought in like 1,500 men in the middle of the night, and they were sent off God knows where. I mean, they have so many of these radical terrorists that are coming into America, that have come from Germany, have come from Sweden. First, there's a whole
I got some
well,
information later on about this murderer in Orlando and who he
yeah.
belonged to and who he was working for. And yeah, they actually are bringing um,
They
non.
bring
They're bringing unrelated immigrants, unwanted immigrants. They're actually in
yes,
charge. Well, we'll go with that later. You know
yeah.
what? Let's get your website out now, and
I
then.
haven't written for a long time now. I wrote
Oh,
a
I
lot in
think this will
January,
do.
February, but I happen to have a lot of information on this particular topic. So maybe it's very timely that you should have asked me to speak tonight after this Orlando massacre,
Oh,
because you
first
can
of
see
all,
how things are set up, you know?
give the site out
Okay, it's called
before anything else.
Israel Truth Times. Israel like the country of Israel,
Country.
truth like truth and lies, and Times like the New York Times. Israel Truth
Dot.
Times.
Dot.
No,
What?
just Israel Truth Times. Look up Israel Truth Times and you will find it. And it's right there, and it's a blog, and there is a lot of information on these camps. And also, you have to remember that, for instance, tomorrow there is a Federal Reserve meeting,
Yep.
and basically the country has been on pins and needles waiting to see what's going to be happening with the economy. And you should know that the financial collapse and terror are very, very closely linked.
How?
Because how?
How?
Because see, the thing is, America is broke. Everybody knows America is broke. Not just America is broke; the whole world is bankrupt. And except maybe China, China and India. China is sitting on tons and tons of gold. America apparently does not any of the gold that they claim they have in the federal
All right.
in the at Fort
It's
Knox is
not in
long
Fort
gone.
Knox. I've heard that
It's
from.
long gone. But the bottom
Okay.
line is America is broke. And it's just the question is, at which point is the truth going to come out? At which point are the people going to realize the money's not there? I mean, just this month, at the beginning of the month, we heard that the EBT cards, I don't know if they finally came through, but as of the 8th or the 9th of June, the money had not come through. And basically, at some point, people are going to realize there's no money. And when there's
And
no money, we saw
how did this
what?
Mateen fit into this? What
Well, the bottom
role?
line is you
Yeah.
have to find a good excuse for the collapse of the economy. So terror is a perfect excuse. Why do
No,
they have to
it's
set
not
up?
good enough. It's not good enough. By
It
the
also
way,
it's a good but
you
yes.
have to understand the Hebron. There were two massacres. By the second one didn't work out so well. The Noam Friedman setup, but it got you out of Hebron and back to Kiryat Arba. But the point is, there was something. There is a broader agenda here, and I don't think. Look, let's face it. The right, the Christians, they don't like Latin homos. Okay, to get them to like them, let's just say this way: you can't. It's bad taste to say you don't sympathize with the victims. There's a lot of
Okay.
stretching going on here. Okay, a lot of not truth is going out, but what the agenda is. My first impression is to push this gay agenda. That's the first.
Yes,
You're,
apparently, and yeah, I heard actually. I mean, I can't vouch for it, but I read a report again from a website that I'm not sure how reliable it is. That apparently Hillary was behind this whole thing, and she was trying to
oh no,
use
that's
this
the
as a
Trump. No, no, don't
no.
do. I have a doctor friend who I like very much. He sent me to some site before it's news. I think it's called where Hillary was behind it, and this guy Mateen's father was going to be he's running for the president of Afghanistan. You have to sift through the disinfo and the lies and the rumors.
Again, I said I don't know. I'm just saying there is a rumor. I never said it's correct. I'm just saying there's a
I
rumor
can I think what's
The
bad
what?
enough. I think what we've got already is bad enough. You don't have to. I'm worried that the same
All
thing that
right.
happened to Hebron is going to happen to Orlando, where the girls go on TV with the earrings in their nose, saying that love will conquer and hate will not win. This is our town. It's really not realistic. Really not
Well,
realistic.
it's happening in Europe already. Remember how in Germany how they welcomed all those terrorists in with flowers and welcome and everything, and then today now they wish they were all gone, but it's a little late, you know.
I'm not sure exactly what the flowers for terrorists means, but the fact of the matter is you're being veered away. But fortunately, there is reliability out there, and you've got to sift. You really have to sift. As I said, a very close friend, my doctor, just sent me such disinfo. You know, it's not a false flag what's going on. What's going on is a political agenda and a lot of contrivance. An awful lot. And somehow you have to just sift away the crap.
Well, it's very hard to know the truth. There is so much disinformation going on, starting with the media and everything. I mean, until you really get to the truth, even when you think you have the truth, you might not have the truth, you know? So,
Well,
who
I'm going to
knows?
ask you right now. The news is that Mateen loved to go to the polls. He was there all the time. I've never heard that. None of the victims said that, but now that's coming out, and they're going to bust his wife for being there when he bought the ammo. You have to ask the question: why would he drive? He lived in Port St. Lucie, 120 miles away. Why would he drive 2 hours there, 2 hours back to go to a club? All right, there are things you can ask. And by the way,
All
the
right.
same thing. The same thing with the Grimmy murder. I mean, this guy, Kevin Loibel, he drove 90 miles, an hour and a half to shoot her. We're talking, 4 hours. These people are out of their way to do these deeds. Start with
Right.
that. Why not just
Yeah,
stick
well, I
with
don't know. You probably know more about it than I do. You live in Florida. I don't.
no,
Maybe you know something
no,
about Orlando. I don't. I don't know.
no? That's not it. It doesn't make sense. Shoot up your own neighborhood. Really. Why drive to shoot a singer? This looks so, so set up. It's
Yeah, but
not,
why? Why do you think they chose Orlando? What's your guess?
no idea. Okay? But
Mhm.
they worked it out beautifully. I gotta tell you, they got all the PR you could ever want. Oh,
Yeah, I hear you.
oh,
Well, from what I understand, it's Orlando is only the beginning, you know? I mean, again, they set up, they have all their sleeper cells all over the US. It's just a matter of giving the signal, and, you could have such mayhem in America. I mean,
a lot of
people
guns are
better
being
be,
sold. A lot of
yeah,
guns
people
were
better
sold
be
today.
prepared because
No, they
it's going to
better
be
not.
nasty.
You gotta somehow put an end to this. The last thing you want is people prepared. You get
Well, if they're
utter.
not prepared, they're going to be massacred like the Yazidis,
Well,
Don't forget, you're all infidels,
I'm gonna say in Israel, I was on Milwauee for 13 years, regular duty for a year and a half, like 14 years with an M16, and I didn't feel like shooting up anyone. It's a mentality thing. It goes beyond what you're talking about. What you're talking about, though, is going to be anyone can pick up guns. Anyone. And we'll go into that later, by the way. He was the last guy in the world that should have been sold. Very, very powerful. Forget the handgun. He had a long gun that did most of the damage.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a very bad metaphor, but it's a two-edged sword. I always should say it's a two-edged gun. But, unfortunately, from what I
Oh,
understand is,
we have to take a. No, no, it's good. We're actually doing very well.
uh-huh.
Very
Well,
well. But we have
There's
to
a
take
lot of
significance.
illegal weapons. The criminals have a lot of illegal weapons. So, and they target the gun-free zones. So, you know, what usually happens is the people who could have defended themselves don't defend themselves.
All right, we have to take
Goodbye.
3 minutes, and we're talking about an endless circle. We'll be back in 3 minutes with Dr. Casey Stern.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Hey folks, this is Barry Chamish. I'm just filled with actually anger. We're being contrived again. Who knows where it's going to lead, my goodness. But all my books are at Lulu That's www.lulu.com. There's a search box right in my last name, Chamish, Chamish. You'll get to my books. I think is Save Israel. I think is where I do the first Hebron massacre, and I do it well, and I do it accurately. And well, my website, I don't know what's going on with that, but it's Barry Chamish, www.barrychamish.com. Daisy.
Yeah, what's wrong with your website? I'm there. You say you don't know what's going on with it. What's the problem with your website?
We'll talk about that later, okay?
Okay.
There's plenty. Go to Google and see that it's you're not welcome on it. All right, leave that be. All right.
Okay.
Look, let's talk Goldstein. Now, when I did my expose, I relied, first of all, on an Arab reporter, Khalad Abu Tuama. He works for Yerushalayim. He's accurate and honest. He interviewed the survivors in 6 different hospitals. All of them said there was more than one shooter. All right, now, Don't forget, the Shamgar Commission of Inquiry predated the Rabin whitewash. Same Shamgar, though. In short, 3 soldiers were amongst those that said after Goldstein entered the mosque, another Jew carrying a galil shot up the place. All right, Shamgar ruled that the Arabs were all perjuring themselves and the soldiers were lying.
I hear you. Well, it seems like a similar story is starting to cook up in Orlando, Barry, where, like the truth is sort of being obfuscated and suppressed, and eventually it's going to have to come up. But from first-hand witnesses, there was more than one shooter there, and said, no, it didn't happen.
That's not a first-hand witness. That's a stupid rumor. Listen.
No. First-hand witnesses. That's not a rumor. Those are people who were in there. What you're saying is not. Let's not confuse apples with oranges.
I'm going to say it again. There's something called Before It's News. It was sent to me. That's among the rumors. So far, until I see that in more than a rumor site,
Go to Zero Hedge. Are you familiar with Zero Hedge?
No.
Okay, Zero Hedge has an article on that. You might want to read it. I think they have quite a bit of good information there. They don't go by Before It's News. It's a whole different thing. And they mention about the fact that there are several shooters.
There were, you know what? For the time being anyways, okay? You've got enough of a problem with the motivation. Look, in Hebron, you could have done something. What Baruch Goldstein's wife, her name was Miriam. You probably knew her.
Right. Of course I know.
All right. Well, she testified to Shamgar, oh gosh, that she was shocked that her husband got a note informing her that he was on Milawim. And the Shamgar Commission ruled that he showed up in his Subaru. It turns out he showed up in, now get this, Shmuel Edelstein's car. The head of IDF commander for Kiryat Arba drove him to the mosque, or at least they provided the car to drive him to the mosque. How come you didn't pursue that? You knew Miriam. How come you didn't pursue that?
Well, first of all, everybody has their field of interest or not interest. So, you were dealing with it. That's good enough. So, not everybody has to do the same thing. Number one. Number two, you should know that Miriam is very, very secretive when it comes to these things. She's trying to avoid as much as possible discussing any of this. I think she wants it behind her, if you're asking me. Every time I would try to talk to her, she just doesn't want to be involved anymore. She wants her life. You can't blame her. Her children are doing well. One of her sons is a top pilot in the army. He's doing very well. She doesn't.
The army that betrayed her.
I know. But what you gonna do? She's a mother and she wants what's best for her children. Probably she decided to. I mean, I don't know what's going on in her head. All I know is
If
that she
Goldstein showed
cannot
up in
approach.
Edelstein's car, it
Look,
should have been
the poor
investigated.
Dr. Goldstein was railroaded. He was set up. He was framed.
He
I
was
feel
told
really
he was
bad
on
for him.
Halloween. He entered the mosque. Someone behind him did the shooting. Witnesses like crazy saw it. And you let it die. You let it die.
Well, for a long time we didn't let it die. But what you gonna do? I mean, it was in 1994, right?
Yeah.
22 years ago. Would
Yeah.
it make sense to keep going over and over this event right now when there's so much going on? I mean, I understand your sort of
You're out
focus
of
on that
Hebron.
because.
You're out. And next stage, you're going to be out of Kiryat Arba. There's a price to be paid for apathy. There really is, okay?
Well, you want to revive the whole situation? You want to discuss it again? I mean, we could put it back on the agenda. I'm not sure it will. I mean, what will
Daisy,
it
I've given up.
accomplish?
I've given up. But you have to understand, the massacre didn't do the trick. It was supposed to. They needed another trick. They got a guy from a psychiatric institute in Rehavia. He'd been there for 3 months. His name was Noam Friedman.
I
They gave
remember.
him. Oh, yeah. You remember him showing up in Hebron and the cameras being ready while he massacred Hebron and then his gun
I
jam.
wasn't there, but I remember the story. And there was another one like this in the north also. I remember one guy, like one crazy guy that they let loose there, and he started doing a massacre somewhere. I forgot what his name was.
More to the point, he was in a government psychiatric ward, given a gun, showed up in Hebron, and you were out the next day. Remember, Netanyahu wanted you out. His cabinet didn't. He
I
needed a
know.
little push. He needed a little shove.
That's right. That's how they work. I mean, they're all like that.
Yep.
It's just disgusting. The whole system is absolutely disgusting.
Yep.
And the question is, who is behind those people? Who's
That's a
pulling the
good one.
strings?
That's a real good one. Look, when I talk about this, I know that the victims, the Baruch Goldsteins, and by the way, the Noam Friedman, he was just whatever was done to him in the psychiatric ward, it did the trick. He got on a bus to Hebron and shot up the place.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I told you, the Vatican is behind Fethullah Gulen in America. And, the Vatican is involved in so many of these dirty deals. I'm not necessarily pointing at the Vatican in this particular situation of Goldstein, but I would say, why not? I mean, after all, Shimon Peres and the Vatican are one and the same. And we know very well Shimon Peres was involved in that too, right?
He was pretty well involved with everything. If you want to really trace it, it goes back to the Yemenite children, to the Sephardi ringworm children. It's a god-awful story.
He's the representative of Rome in Israel, right?
Sure is.
So if Peres is involved, I mean Rome is involved. Just like in America, Rome is involved.
Actually,
too.
Netanyahu was involved with the pullout. It was.
Yeah, but again, they're just they puppets, they're just not the front line, I mean, you see these heads of state who are there doing their job, but they're not doing their own bidding. They have a gun to their heads,
I'm going to tell you a little story, and you'll relate to it, I guess. After Goldstein was murdered, of course, in the mosque. I mean, you realize that.
Okay.
Well, you do realize that, right? In the mosque.
Well, I know that. I know.
All right. Who took over the Jewish Defense League but Benjamin Kahana? He came up to me. This was at an event in Jerusalem to tell me he was fearful and whatever. We had a talk. He was assassinated, a week or two later, and really well. His 4 children, 62 bullets.
I know.
All right.
Well, I got news for you, okay?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
grandson of Meir Kahane. I don't know if you've been following the news.
I've been
Meir
following.
Ettinger. Have you been following Meir Ettinger, who was
Yep.
jailed without charge? He was in administrative detention for 10 months for nothing, basically for opening his mouth, for being the grandson of Meir Kahane. Well, Meir Ettinger was just released from prison about 10 days ago. And I was at the bris of his son, his firstborn son, who, believe it or not, was named Netzach Binyamin. He was named after Binyamin Kahane. And I went to the bris in Yerushalayim. I was right there. I went to the bris of Meir Ettinger's Bechor, his newborn first son. And I can tell you that Meir Ettinger is quite a personality. He is just the sweetest, the smartest. He writes with such clarity, with such purpose. He is such a brilliant, to the point young
He'll
man.
be rudely disposed of in time.
Well,
Right?
God willing, he will make it this time. He is just a gem.
Listen, I had
Meir
your
Ettinger
son.
is a gem.
I had your son on this radio show after the slaughter in Hebron, and honest to goodness, I like him. By the way, personally, I like him. But
Can we change the subject, please?
to what? You don't want to hear?
No, not right now.
Alrighty, then
No.
away we go back to Orlando. Listen,
Okay.
something remarkable happened to Orlando, a double murder.
Okay.
And the nation is watching it. And again, ISIS is getting the blame like crazy. Just so you know. And we're preparing for something beyond Orlando. We're preparing for a head-on collision. And,
Okay.
well...
So what do you make of it? What is your explanation, Barry? You're pretty smart.
The explanation, I'm going to say once again, I only talk about the things I know right now. It's better not to go beyond that.
Okay.
Now, the things I do know is that the murderers came an awful long way to do their deed. An awful long way. And you're asking, is there, do you see any fluke of timing that on Friday, the pop star on Saturday, 50 homosexuals in a club? Do I see a fluke in timing? Now let me quote the dancers at the club. No way, Jose.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't see a fluke. I think it was planned.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, they're trying to get somebody's attention. They definitely wanted to get somebody's attention, the people's attention.
Well,
so
the
question
got that. The problem is our worldviews are being so contrived.
But I think it backfired because what they wanted that for gun control, and they wanted to draw sympathy to the Democrats against these horrible gun-toting Republicans. And I think because of this whole radicalism,
That's not what happened. That's not what happened. No, the election you're talking about is a total scam, and it really. That's not what happened. Look, what's important to me...
So who's benefiting from this? Who do you think...
Who benefited from the Jews being pulled out of Hebron? You have to ask the question. It's a major...
The left. So who is benefiting from this? If you think it's a setup.
Look, again...
beyond the radical Islam, because we know there's that aspect. There's no question. I don't care how much you try to deny it. There's the aspect of the crazy, murderous...
Oh, no, that's number one. But wait till you see the information I've been collecting. Look, I have one source on the internet that I trust, and that's Judicial Watch. And in the next hour... You know what? Stick around.
Shurat Hadin? You talk about Shurat Hadin?
I know what Shurat Hadin is, but that's not these people.
It's a different one? Okay.
No. No, what we're talking about is there was something. Let's put it this way. You've got a lot of people and the news twisted where the victims are suddenly loved by everybody. It's weird to watch, really weird to watch. Since when does the Christian right love Latino homosexuals?
All right.
When? Well, they have to.
Why?
Why? Because they died horribly.
Because it's politically correct?
Look, the fact of the matter is, the propaganda is, he was a hater and we won't let haters win. We're stronger than that. Orlando is our city. You know, there's a lot of people in Orlando who didn't want to hear that necessarily. And now they do. The agenda has been twisted.
Basically, to draw sympathy to the gay cause is what you're saying.
Not necessarily. It's a big mix. Look, once again, why shoot a pop star, someone you didn't even know? Why do it? To draw sympathy to her? She wasn't such a good singer, you know? Look, you've got a case of the kind of insanity that went on in Tel Aviv, followed by the Sarona massacre a few days later. You've got now in the United States. And do I think it isn't manipulated? I'm going to repeat, no way, Jose.
Yeah, but again, what's the agenda? Who is doing it and why? What are they trying to accomplish? What do you think? God is behind everything anyway, no matter what anybody does. Because God is behind everything. Nothing happens in this world unless God wants it, okay? As long as you understand that, then you... What?
Yes,
what? Yeah?
He was delighted by the Holocaust. Look, you have to give a bit.
It's not a matter, you can give all you want. The fact is nothing happens to a person unless God wants it, okay? So the question is, but he doesn't do it himself. There's always agents. There's always people doing the job for him. So this time it happened to be a radical Muslim, but there's also other people behind it. There's an agenda. So the question, besides God, who else has an interest in it? What are they gaining from that?
Okay.
Why would they do it?
Help me out. I don't know. And for many years,
it seems to me it's the left who wants sympathy for their cause. They want sympathy for
left, right.
It's not left, right. It's the gay agenda. The gay agenda. They want sympathy.
Too simple.
Okay, then you tell me.
I don't know. Look, again, if you want to dive deep, the Vatican's a pretty good start. If you want to go deeper, and in the next hour, if you'll stick around, you're actually a pretty fun guest to bounce things off of. I'll do that. I prepared it.
Who is on the next hour?
No one, just you. Listen,
I don't think I can do another hour like this. I'm willing to listen to you, but I don't think I can do an extra whole hour.
Well, whenever you want out, just let me know. It's okay. But look, this Phelps, I'm not going to tell you how totally repulsed I am by being stood up. Okay.
Maybe he didn't want to be on with me because he knew I was coming on?
No. No. I genuinely, no.
Because there might have been some fireworks there, you know.
Why?
Because we see eye to eye on many topics. When he starts with his missionizing, that's when I draw the line, you know.
Well, no, I asked him before I invited you. I said, "You want to make the first hour a little?" No, he could have said no. He could have said no. I'll have nothing to do with Daisy.
Okay.
No, he's irresponsible.
We are not enemies. I'm just saying there's certain topics that we better not address because then it would be fireworks. But other than that, I am very grateful to him for his work. I mean, he has done fantastic research. He's a brilliant man. He has
He's
lots
a
and lots.
lying moron. All right,
Right.
enough.
Okay.
Enough. No matter what, I don't like being stood up.
I don't blame you.
Look, you're
Well,
talking
maybe, yeah.
the world changing. I mean, you even brought up weather. By the way, boy,
Yeah.
the weather in my little town in Florida, high 90s. This is
Well,
June. Yeah.
you know how I have been here almost 20 years. I have never had such a hot June. It's boiling here, burning. I mean, it's like in the over 100 degrees it was today and yesterday. Unbelievable, unbearable.
It's sure, really. This is Israel.
Yeah, yeah, and this is not the first time this month. It happened twice already. I mean, I've never experienced something like this. And this is, as you said, it's only June. I mean, sometime you have a day of Sharav here and there, but I mean, I have never had a June like this. I
Oh,
mean, you can,
we're
yeah,
sharing something. You know,
yeah.
well, I've got an interesting marriage. Okay, leave it. But Cindy and I like to fish. We went to our pier. The pier is closed down because the water has risen 2 feet. It's
Wow.
unsafe, and the sand on the beach has to be brought in. There is something incredible going on with the weather.
Have you heard of Nibiru? Have you been following the Nibiru story?
What's a Nibiru?
Nibiru, you don't know Nibiru? Okay, that's something that's worth following. You haven't heard of Planet X?
Oh gosh! And you know what? Let's stick. Yes, I have. As a
I
matter
mean,
of
you can
fact,
see pictures. I mean, I don't. It seems like there is something out there that's.
out there beyond Pluto, there's a belt of Earth-sized planets that we're just discovering. Let's
When you
stick.
watch it, I'm sort of following the pictures, and you can see it pretty clearly, actually. And it's apparently getting
It's not
closer.
Nibiru. Nibiru, if it was a planet with real people, would be
No,
one.
no, no, not with real people. We're not talking about that. We talk about that dwarf, that dwarf star. We're not talking about the planet with real people. We're not
Oh, oh,
that.
good. Oh,
No, no,
good.
no. No, it's just the name of a star.
You know what?
Uh,
I have to sift too. Let me tell you.
yeah.
I did the UFO stuff in Israel, and by the way, anyone who's read my book or seen my DVD knows it was down to earth, and the Israelis were telling the truth, and this and that. But still, mix it up with the Rabin assassination, you get in trouble.
Yeah. No, I
And
don't know.
I,
I'm not trying to connect those dots, but I can tell you that in the past month there have been tsunami warnings on the beaches of Israel, and they do expect tsunamis in a lot of places because apparently what happened is like the Earth is there has been a polar shift on the Earth, and it's changing the location of the various places on Earth regarding the sun. So some places that used to be cooler now are closer to the sun and vice versa. And apparently that's pretty much has been documented in the past month or so that there has been a polar shift. And that explains apparently a lot of these changes in the weather and also all the volcanic activity and all the earthquakes and a lot of stuff that's happening in nature that is very, very odd and very
sudden.
unsettling. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, you can see it in the weather. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we've never had a heat like this ever, ever.
I
And
gotta
it's
tell
not
you,
climate change, and it's not CO2, it's polar shift.
we're sharing that. So it is
Yeah,
worldwide, huh?
yeah, yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
before we go on to the next hour, and do stick around, I won't bug you too much. I'm going to do a 1-2 punch. One punch, who this guy was. And Judicial Watch, I think I trust them. All right? Start with that, and then Vatican, which I was preparing with Eric. And oh my goodness gracious, we are being so manipulated. And what happened in Orlando, I recognized from my life. not a pleasant life, I want you to know, but I recognize it. It's the same thing that happened to Hebron happened to Orlando. All right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell people how they can get hold of your blog.
Again, I haven't written in a few months
It
now. It's
doesn't
very
matter.
sporadic, but there's a lot of very good information on that blog.
How do you
It's
get
called
to it? Quick.
Israel Truth Times. Israel, like the country of Israel. Truth, like Truth and Lies. Times, like New York Times. Israel.
All right, we have to take 7 minutes. I hate to do this. Stick around.
I don't know if I will. I don't promise.
If not, I've got things to say, but I like your reaction. I really do like your reaction a lot.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Folks, we'll be back in 7 minutes. This is Barry Chamish.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.